Welcome back to another exciting tutorial. This is Nurse's Thread. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this trendy bustier gown. If it's something you're interested in, give this video a thumbs up and let's get started. So we'll start off by drafting upper bodice. For this, I just went ahead to fold my paper into two and then I wrote a line as the starting point. From that point, I'm going ahead to mark my shoulder to bust, to the under bust, and then to the waist, ensuring to add half of an inch to the waist area, which will serve as the joining allowance when I'm joining my piece together. And I'm going in with my rule to just rule my lines across those points like so. After doing that, I'll go ahead and mark half of my shoulder measurement at the top of my paper, and I'll just indicate that point. And after that, I will mark my armhole depth, which is my round bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Okay, if you don't know how to get that, and I'm going ahead to just rule my line across that point like so. Okay, now to ensure that I have a straight line coming from the shoulder point, I will also mark half of my shoulder measurement on that line which I just marked, and then I will make a straight line like so. And going ahead to label this: the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and then the waist. So after doing that, from the top of our paper, I'm going to mark a neck width of 3.5 inches. That is what I'll be using for this. And on the line coming down, I will mark 1 inch and I'll connect it together for my shoulder slant. Now to get the armhole curve, I'll take the measurement I have remaining from this point like so. Get the midpoint there and then go in by half of an inch at that point. Okay, I'll go ahead and mark quarter of my round bust at this point, then connect everything together with my armhole curve. So after doing that, we're going ahead to mark our darts. To do this, go ahead and take your bust span divided by 2, which is the measurement from your nipple to the other. So I'm working with 7 inches for this, which is 3.5. I used 4 inches instead. That means I added half of an inch to this. So I just used 4 inches and I marked 4 inches from the bust point down to the waist point like so. Okay, now on the shoulder area, I'll go ahead and take what I have left. Okay, that's from the neck width to the remaining part of the shoulder. I'll get the midpoint of that area like so by folding my tape into 2. And I'll go ahead to connect it together like so. All right, so now on the leg of both our darts, on the outer part, I'll be going out by 1.5 inches. Then on the other part, I'll be going out by 1 inch. Now, the person I'm making this for is a bit busty, so this is required. But if you're making this for someone with a smaller bust, you can use 1 inch on both sides. But I'm using 1.5 inches on the outer part, that's the part going towards the armhole, and then 1 inch on the part going towards the center. All right, so I just marked that on the under bust line and on the bust area and on the waist area. Sorry about that. Now on the bust point, I'll go down by 1 inch from that point, and I will use my curve rule to connect it to meet the under bust point like so. So just watch how I'm connecting this if you don't know how to do this. All right, so you can see what we have there like so. Okay, now from the chest line, I'll go up by 1.5 inches and I'll mark it down there. Then I'll use my rule to just make a straight line at that point. Okay, now on that point there, on that area there, I will go in and out for my dart by 1 inches. So the part going towards the armhole, we have 1 inch. The part going towards the center will also have 1 inch. Okay, for the bust tightening at the top, I just went out by 1 inch on both sides. Now from the bust area, I'll go up by 1 inch also, and I will connect this with my curve rule. So the reason why this connection doesn't go straight to the bust is to avoid those pointy ends you see on the bust area. Okay, so by the time you finish sew this, it's not pointy at that bust area. Hope you got this. So I just connected this with my curve rule like so. Okay, so this is what we have for this. All right. Now, the next thing I want to determine is the width of the strap because this will be cut together. So for this, I'm using 2 inches. You can decide to use what you have left. Okay, but I decided to use 2 inches instead because I wanted this to be a bit smaller, considering the fact that I'll still have to turn this with my lining. So it's going to be smaller than what I have here right now. So I just used 2 inches. Now for the neck depth for our sweetheart neck, from that point there, I will just come down from that point by 1 inch and then connect it like so. So I just made a connection going from the top part of the center front to the first chest line I marked. Okay, so I hope you know that. And I'm going ahead to just mark my body measurement, right? So on the armhole area, the chest area, sorry, you go ahead and add that intake you took at the top part to that area. All right, so we're not adding the seam allowance to this. I'll add this while I'm cutting out on my fabric. Okay, now on the waist area, we go ahead and do the same thing. Take your round waist divided by 4, add your that intake, and then just make your connections together like so. So remember I said I'm not adding my seam allowance to this. That's because my paper will not contain the seam allowance I need for this. So I'll just add this later on while I'm cutting out on my fabric. So we'll just go on to just cut this out. So just watch how I'm going ahead to cut this out. So after doing that, this is what we have. So I'm going to just open this up to show you what our front will be looking like. You can see the sweetheart neckline. So you can see how this is going to appear. So by the time we stitch it down, it will be looking nice and clean. So go ahead and draft for the back. Now for the back, I've gone ahead to mark my basic points. That's the zip allowance. I used 1.5 inches. And then I've marked the shoulder point, the chest line, the underbust, the half length, remembering to add half of an inch at that point. Now I'm going ahead to mark the same neck width I used for the front because you want this part to be matching. And then on the armhole depth point, I went down by 1 inch and I'm going to slant it to meet this point like so. Okay, that's for our shoulder slant right there. Now I'm going to just mark out the armhole curve just like I did in front. To the remaining measurement I had there, I went down by, I got the midpoint and then went in by half of an inch, marked quarter of my round bust measurement. Okay, so your measurement, your horizontal measurement should come after your zip allowance, right? And then I'm going in with my curve rule to connect this. So remember, we're not adding sleeves to this. So this pattern of armhole curve for the back, it's going to work perfectly because we're not adding sleeves. Now for the dart, I'm going in to mark half of my bust pan, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. And I just mark this from the waist down to the chest line. So the dart for the back is going to get to the chest line. I just went ahead to mark those points and then connected them in a straight line. Now on the end leg of our dart, I'll be going in and out by 0.75 inches. You can use half of an inch if you want to, but I'll be using 0.75 inches on both parts of this, and I'll connect it to meet the top of my dart like so. Okay, so for the back, we're also going to use the same width for our strap, which is 2 inches. Okay, I just marked it down. Now I went up from the edge, that's from my chest line by 1 inch. Okay, that initially I went up by 1 inch, but later on I went ahead to just use the chest line as the depth for the back neckline because this is a strap already. I went up by 1 inch firstly, and then later on changed my mind and went on with the measurement I had at the chest. So I'm just going to connect the line straight down. So for the back, we're just going to have like a rectangular neckline, or will I say square neckline? I don't know, rectangular neckline at the back. Okay, so that's just what I'm working with for the back. So this is what I made initially. That's what it was, and I was thinking of maybe giving it something else, um, doing a different neckline, so you can totally make a different neckline for your own piece. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing is to just add my body measurement to this. Take the round waist divided by 4, mark it down, add my dart intake to this. So just like I did for the front, I will not be adding any seam allowance to this. I'm going to add my seam allowance while I'm cutting on my fabric. Okay, so I'm just going ahead to connect these points together like so. So like I said, I went ahead to just use the chest line as the depth of my back neck. So you can see how this looks like. Okay. Now on the zip allowance area of the back, in order to avoid any form of bulging at the back, I just went ahead to rule a line to extend it outwards. I went in by half of an inch. Remember, I said I cut using 1.5 inches for the zip of the back, but I went in by half of an inch, and I'm going to connect that to the top. Now, the top you're connecting this to, it's where your neckline is going to end, like so. Okay, so you can see the point I just ruled, and I'm connecting that to meet that point. So it means that the zip allowance for the back, the waist is 1 inch, while the other part is 1.5 inches. So that's what I used, and I'll go ahead to just cut out this pattern. Okay, so this is what we have for the back. So remember that your back has to be two pieces, one for the right and one for the left. We just have one piece, like so. Okay, so you can decide to also open up your that area, okay, to have that. So I'm just placing this together to ensure it is matching. Now on the waist of the back, for from the zip area, which is the center back, I went up by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect this to knotting at the side. Now the reason being to avoid any form of zip bulging for the back. Okay, so I just did that so that by the time I finish making my dress and fixing the zipper, it will not be folding at that end. I actually don't enjoy my clothes having those folds at the waist area at all. So if you go through this process, you're going to take off this point. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out on my fabric. So this is what I have. This is the side front. I just added 1.5 inches to the side, added half inches to the armhole and also to the shoulder area. I didn't add any allowances to my dart area. Remember, I already used half of an inch extra while I was cutting on my pattern. So I didn't add to that at all. So if you didn't add while you are cutting your pattern, you should add while cutting on your fabric. I hope you got that. Now for the center front, you can see I didn't add any allowances to the side. I just added half inch to the top part of this. Now for the back piece also, I added 1.5 inches to the side. I added half inch to the neckline and then to the shoulder and the armhole. I didn't add any allowance to the zip area. Okay, so we're going to start working on our fabric, right? We're going to start with the front part of our fabric. I've gone ahead to iron stay to the main piece of my fabric. I've also ironed my wording to this. Then for the lining, I ironed the softest gum stay, and then I also iron my wording to this. So I always I like using double wording for both the lining and the main piece. especially when I'm working with fabrics of light texture, to just help give it a little bit more push. Okay, I did the same thing also for the center, the side fronts. I just ironed my interfacing to them and then also my wording to them. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. We'll be pinning our piece together. Whatever you do to your main piece, go ahead and repeat to your lining piece also. So if you choose not to widen this, it can totally work for you if you don't want that extra push. So I just went ahead to just place them matching them accordingly, and then pinning them together before I will go ahead and sew it down. So I always prefer pinning together. Okay, so this is what it looks like for this side. And after ensuring that this is well placed, the reason for pinning this properly firstly is because I want to see what it looks like before I go ahead and stitch. Okay, because I actually despise after losing after sewing. It makes the fabric weak and it just makes the work stressful. So I went ahead to repeat the same thing on the other side. I just placed it together and pin. Now note that while pinning, you're starting from the end, that's the down part to pin, and then go ahead and stitch it together by half of an inch. Repeat the same thing on your lining piece like I said earlier. So you just join them together by that half of an inch allowance we added. So this is what it looks like after I finished. I went ahead to iron open my seam. This is for the main piece of the fabric. And for the lining piece, this is what it looks like after I finish. So you can see the extra push I have at the bust area. So what I want to do next is to stitch my lining to the fabric. I like placing hemming gum around the neckline of my dresses so that it will be easier for me to press later on. So I'm going to align the necklines to ensure that they are matching perfectly, and I will go ahead and pin it down. Okay, so just place them rightly. So the neck part is the part you should consider first while placing your lining to your fabric. All right, other places are going to fall into place if the necklines are matching. So just go ahead and pin it together. You can see how I'm placing my pins around this, ensuring that they are placed properly, and then place it down. So you're placing the right side of your fabric to the right side of your lining, and you go ahead and place it down. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and stitch around these areas, stitch the armhole and then the sides of this. Okay. Now for the back piece, this is what I have for the back. I also ironed my interfacing to the lining and then to the main piece. I'm going to place them right side to right side also, and placing my hemming gum at the neck area also like I did for the front piece. And I'll go ahead and stitch down the zip allowance area by half of an inch, and then I will stitch the neckline only. So I'm just stitching the zip allowance area and then the neckline for the back piece. Okay, I'll just go ahead and do same for both pieces of my back. So this is what the front looks like. I'm just making notches on the neckline. Those points I stitched down so that it is easier for me to press later on. After doing that, I will just turn this over to the right side like so. So this is what it looks like after I turned it over and then I've given it very good press. Okay, so now we're going to bring our back piece. This is what it looks like. I've turned it, but I'm yet to iron this down. All right, so you can see how this look. So what we're going to do is to place this piece together. So don't forget to also notch the back piece of the back neckline of your piece also. Okay, so we're going to place this together like so, and we're going to sandwich the front piece between the lining of the back and then the fabric of the back. So we want to join our shoulders together All right, so we're going to sandwich that together, pin it down to keep that in place, and then go ahead and align the armhole of your lining and then the main fabric of your back piece together. Okay, so you can see how I'm placing this together. We're trying to not have any stitch line showing outwards. The only stitch line we're going to have outside of this is the joining line. Okay, so we're just going to pin it down. So just be patient enough to pin it down. So like I said, working with your pins doesn't make you an amateur. Okay, it just helps you to be comfortable while you're working, makes your work easier and faster for me. So I advise you to also do the same thing. So after pinning down, I will just go on to stitch around those points by half of an inch from the shoulder area to the armhole area, and repeat the same thing for the other piece of the back. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do this. So this is what it looks like after I finished, and I went ahead to give it a really good press, and I went on to also place my dart for the back. Now for the skirt part of this, I have a detailed tutorial. I made a dartless skirt for this gown. So if you're yet to see that tutorial, it will be in the description. The link will be in the description box below, and I'm also going to post this. I'm also going to put this video at the skirt video at the top of this, okay, of this particular video. So if you've not seen that, do well to check it out. I didn't want to use a darted skirt on my piece, so I'm just going to place this way on top. This is for the front. Go ahead and join it by half of an inch, and then for the back piece, I'm just going to get the piece that belongs to them, taking note that we're going to have like a zip. There's a zipper area for both our skirts and then the top part. It's important for you to make notches at those points, especially for the skirts areas. Okay, so I'm just going to place that down. I'll go ahead and stitch all those points by the half of an inch allowance I added for this. So this is what it looks like after I finish. This is it, looking so nice already. So this is the back part of our piece, like so. You can see how it looks. You can see curves all over this. So what we want to do next is to close the back part of our skirt so that we can go on to join this, the back part of our dress, so that we can go on to join this. So you're going to place this right side to right side like you see me doing in this video. So what you want to determine is where you want open for your gown, your dress, and where you want to be closed for your gown. Okay, so the first thing we do is to bring in our zipper so that we can use this to determine the length where our zipper is going to stop. I will just go in and use my chalk to just make a mark at where I want the zipper of this dress to end. Okay, I will just go ahead and make a mark at that point to determine it. All right, so note that your zipper should not be below your bum. Okay, it should not go below your bum, right? So if you want it to be more comfortable, you can just stop this around the bum area, that's the hip area, so that it's comfortable, right? So after making that mark from the base of our gown, I'll go ahead and mark how long I want my slits to be. So I'm marking a slit length of 18 inches. So depending on the length of your dress, you can have a longer slit or a short slit. Okay, so the longer your gown, the longer your slit. Now from that point, I'm marking 1 inches upward to meet the point which I marked for where my zipper will end, and I'll go ahead and stitch those points together. So I'm just using 1 inch to do that. I'm going to mark that 1 inch point to the top, and I'll connect them together like so. All right, so we'll go ahead to just stitch following that line downwards. So this is what I have after I finish joining. So you can see that the down part of our dress is open, the up part is open because we're here to fix our zip for this. Okay, so this is what it looks like, right? So I'm just going to use my pins to hold that part down, right? So before doing that, for the end of the skirt, in order to keep this in place so that it's not moving, right, you're going to align your skirt like so, right? And then go ahead and make a stitch coming towards the parts where you have like a double fold for the part. So that keeps the skirt, that's the slit end of your skirt, in place. So I'll just go ahead and run a stitch on top of that. So this is what it looks like after I finish. You can see how the inside looks like right now. Now for the other part, the top part where my zipper is going to sit, I'll go ahead and just use my pins to hold it in place. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to align our back piece to the front piece, placing this right side to right side. So we're almost coming to the end of this. We're about to join the sides together. Now, to join the sides of your dress, go ahead and take your body measurement of your dress divided by 2. Okay, no, initially while cutting you divide by 4, but while stitching together you divide by 2, and then you make your markings on both the right and the left side. Whatever you have excess on the side, it's your stitching allowance. Go ahead and use that to stitch it down on both ends of your dress to keep them in place. Okay, so ensure you arrange them properly, ensure that your half lengths are meeting. So this is what it looks like after I finished, and I went ahead to fix the zipper for the dress. You can see how beautiful and lovely this looks like. So if you're here at the end of this video and you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe. Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.